Well, folks, we're back, and worse than ever, this is Ben After Dark. Joe Biden's slow descent into hospice care continues. This week, President Biden got stuck, physically stuck, during a musical performance at the White House. It looks like a deer in the headlights after it has already been run over. This is not a living mammal, people. And yet there he is, still running or lying there motionless. I've heard of the electric slide, but I'm new to the out of batteries slide. Honestly, I'm not sure what he's looking at in this clip or what he's looking for. Maybe he's still on the hunt for missing person Ellen Page. The polls, meanwhile, suggest that Joe Biden is in trouble, which means it's time to try out wildly popular Vice President Kamala Harris on Juneteenth. She's there to demonstrate that Noam Chomsky's linguistics thesis that there can indeed be syntactically correct sentences that bear no meaning, like the angry umbrella ate the tasty television, that thesis is true. She's like lefty AI. Harris appears to speak English, but actually doesn't. It just sounds like English. She instead speaks nonsense.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
Yes, indeed. That is your future president if you elect Joe Biden, a brain-dead person to replace a corpse. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's coalition continues to coalesce. It's a colorful blend of the mentally ill, the emotionally unwell, and the terrorists who glue them all together. So this week alone, we had Biden supporters attack a congressional baseball game. Not like, Bernie Sanders supporters attacking a congressional baseball game, but, same general idea. Then there were the Biden supporters in New York who decided to burn American flags and protest an exhibit about the Hamas massacre of the Nova Music Festival while openly standing for terrorism. Now, the question we should all be asking ourselves is, where are the parents of these people? Who precisely pays their bills? They're not employable. They're qualified only to clean toilets or become university presidents. And most of them aren't university presidents. Most. Yet the Biden administration continues to criticize these people with whispers and then support them with shouts. After all, they wouldn't want to offend the victims of evil Western imperialism who wear their Abercrombie keffiyehs while tweeting on their iPhones before they go home to their pansexual polyamorous pod. These people are as attractive as Sam Bankman-Fried and his girlfriend, but rather than stealing billions of dollars, they simply want the American government to send Hamas billions of dollars. Joe Biden is having a rough time dissociating from the blue-haired Hamas supporters, but he's having an even tougher time dissociating from his son Hunter, who served as his bagman for decades, picking up cash in China and Ukraine and elsewhere on behalf of the Biden family. The problem is that Joe Biden isn't exactly Don Corleone, and Hunter is Fredo. He's a moron who can't help banging waitresses two at a time. Players couldn't even get a drink at the table. But rather than taking Hunter on a quiet boat ride, Joe kept on feeding him sources of cash, which Hunter then used to buy Parmesan cheese, by which I mean crack. Lots and lots of crack. According to one of his lovers, hooker, he was using every 20 minutes. He was buying by the baseball. That's a lot of crack. Hunter was basically the Tony Montana of crack. Well, as you recall, Hunter put all of this damning material on a laptop, and then while he was high, he left that laptop at a laptop repair shop, and then he forgot about it, and then he blamed the Russians. This is about the time he bought a gun while lying that he wasn't using drugs. Now he claims in court that when he filled out that form, he wasn't using drugs that day, which, by the way, is an awesome defense. OJ should have used it. Your Honor, I swear I did not kill Nicole today. Anyway, Hunter got convicted on federal gun charges this week. That followed his father's attempts to get the DOJ to cut him a sweetheart deal. And that didn't work because it turns out the judge was smarter than a third grader. Now Joe is saying he won't pardon him, but he might commute the sentence, which makes sense. Joe wouldn't want Hunter to fall in with bad company in prison, like President Trump. Worst remake of The Odd Couple ever. Well, that is except for the odd couple of Tony Blinken, our Secretary of State, and Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas. Get to more on this in a moment. First, there's been some monumental news recently nobody is talking about. For the first time in American history, the interest we pay on the national debt surpassed every individual budget item except for Social Security. This means the U.S. now spends more on interest than on our national defense or even Medicare, which is disgraceful and is only getting worse as our government continues to spend like drunken sailors. That is why savvy investors, central banks, and concerned savers are turning to gold, because it's not tied to the inflated U.S. dollar. You can too, with the help of Birch Gold. For over 20 years, Birch Gold Group has helped thousands of Americans protect their savings by converting an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. To learn more, text BEN to 989898. Claim your free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Birch Gold has earned my trust with their education-first approach. You can give them a call, ask them all your questions. Once those are answered, think about diversifying. They will earn your trust as well. They've earned the trust of thousands of other happy customers. Protect your savings today. Text BEN to 989898 to get started. Again, text BEN to 989898 and start diversifying today. Text BEN to 989898. Our Secretary of State spent this week making overtures to the head of Hamas, saying that if Yahya Sinwar cared about Palestinians, he'd sign on to a ceasefire and release hostages. To which Sinwar responded, he doesn't care about Palestinians and wants them to die. To which Blinken responded he would give them $400 million more to pressure Israel also. It must be truly nice to be a top-level member of Hamas. You can rape people and then say they had it coming. You can murder as many Jews as you want and then say it's the natural consequence of, well, you being left in charge of Gaza. You can put your rockets in civilian areas, hide behind women and children, kidnap and hold Israeli civilians in civilian houses, and then count on the media to cover for you. Basically, Yahya Sinwar and Hamas are like the Taylor Swift of international terrorism. No matter how much their latest album sucks, everyone says they're amazing. But that's the beauty of being an Islamist terrorist loser. The entire West now thinks that being a loser is in style. If you're a blue-haired, face-tattooed gender studies major without a job, so long as you say you like f***ing chickens, you're a victim. If you sired a child, ditched mom, and now you live on welfare, you too are a victim so long as you're the right color. And if you're an evil rapist terrorist who kills civilians, you are also a victim, so long as you're killing people the intersectional coalition defines as white and powerful. The army of losers is quite real, and they're powerful. I don't mean powerful like they win wars or they're good at things. They're bad at things and they lose wars. I mean they're powerful because they can count on the stupidity and weakness of Westerners who think everyone who sucks at life is a victim and everyone who is good at it is a victimizer. And there are a lot of those Westerners, particularly in the media. After all, where else do you think those protesters will eventually get jobs? Meanwhile, absolutely tragic news this week involving an event that defines our country, a tradition that not only signifies the freedoms we celebrate on the 4th of July, but also basks in all of its American gluttony, the world-famous Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Yes, every year, thousands of spectators flock to Coney Island to watch grown men give themselves diarrhea. This year, one very important eater will be missing from the competitive lineup. He's the goat of the sport. I mean that since he will also literally eat anything you put in front of him, like a goat. Yes, Joey Chestnut has been banned from the competition. He's a 16-time champion. He holds the world record for eating 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes. That's a real thing. That's just one of his many accomplishments. It includes 32 Big Macs in 38 minutes, 44 chicken fingers in 5 minutes, and 0 girlfriends throughout his 20s. Well, word got out that Chestnut signed a $1 million deal with Impossible Foods' rival of Nathan's. Just like regurgitating chewed up pork during the competition, that immediately disqualifies you. And then, less than 24 hours later, Netflix announced that Chestnut would be competing live on their streaming service in September. Thank God. Where else are we supposed to see a seasoned pro shove wieners into their mouth at that rapid a pace? I was going to say a joke here, but it's Pride Month, so we'll let that one pass. We'll get to more on this in just a moment. First, the cost of living is up almost 20% from when Joe Biden took office. Families everywhere are feeling that burden. And yet, legacy media keep insisting the economy is totally fine. In fact, a recent Business Insider article makes the case the American people are to blame because it's the people's perception of inflation that's giving the economy a bad rap, you see. This is Gaslighting 101. The person who wrote this article should be fired or go work for Biden directly. Well, I don't have any control over that. I can help you find ways to save money in this economic climate. One way, switch on over to Pure Talk. If you're one of many American families looking to cut down on your monthly bills, you need to start with your cell phone service. I recommend Pure Talk because it's both affordable and reliable. Pure Talk is rapidly becoming the wireless company of choice for conservatives. Plus, it's great for families because the more lines you add, the more you save. Not to mention, Pure Talk is veteran-led. Instead of funding DEI initiatives, they fund basic services for vets who have served this country. 100% of their customer service team is located right here in the U.S. If you're looking for ways to save money for your family, I highly recommend switching to Pure Talk. Visit puretalk.com/Shapiro to explore their offers. When you make that switch, you'll get an additional 50% off your very first month of service. Visit puretalk.com/Shapiro. Upgrade your cell phone service to America's most dependable 5G network. Save an extra 50% off your very first month. That's puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Also last week, rapper 50 Cent visited Washington, D.C. for some FaceTime on Capitol Hill in hopes of bolstering minority representation in the luxury spirits business, which probably is the most specific cause I've ever even heard of. The 48-year-old created one of the most cringeworthy spectacles I've ever seen in politics. He met with members of Congress from both parties as he was paraded around to take photos like this one, smiling with apparently a big G-Unit fan, Nancy Pelosi. I've heard of Megan the Stallion, but this looks like Nancy the horse that needs to be put down. Anyway, there was only one photo taken at the U.S. Capitol that day, and it lit the internet on fire. It's this one, with the entertainer, who also occasionally performs lewd acts in a theater, Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman from Colorado. 50 Cent posted it on his Instagram account. The left filled his comment sections with triggered responses like these. Sir, there is still time to delete this. Is selling out a requirement once you reach a certain economic status? At least we know who you are now. Did she take you to see Beetlejuice? Okay, that last one's funny. 50 Cent then defended the photo, tweeting, wait, guys, I took pictures with everyone. All you seem to care about is Lauren. What did she do in a dark theater that hasn't been done? My God. And went even further, with Bobert having to tell TMZ nothing romantic was going on between her and the New York rapper, despite how cozy they looked in the photo. I don't believe them, by the way. And also, let's be real. That coupling would likely be in the White House by this time next year. The truth is, there's nothing really new going on here. 50 Cent has made no secret of his conservative political beliefs. He endorsed Trump in 2020. He spreads Republican values on his social media. Liberals just can't handle the idea that a black man sees the decrepit ways of Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. So Democrats trotted out the best source on blackness, Chelsea Handler, to tell him he wasn't being black if he voted for Trump this time.
I had to remind him that he was a black person, so he can't vote for Donald Trump, and that he shouldn't be influencing an entire swath of people who may listen to him.
Well, if Mr. Cent won't be convinced by an aging has-been white woman gradually turning into Steven Tyler not to vote for Donald Trump, I'm not sure what will convince him. This has been Ben After Dark. We'll be back here next week with more cringe.